Hey everyone, it's me, Allison Lee from CraftCast.com, back again for another week of some tips and tricks here in the CraftCast studio. Last week I got a lot of response from all of you, so I know that if I'm thinking about it and I hear from you, you're thinking about it. So it made me think, what's the next step? So last week I talked about the importance of making a decision, that so many times that's the one thing we leave out in order to get from point A to point B in our work, in our craft, in our business, in our life, is to make the decision that we're going to do it. Okay, so, but what happens after we make the decision? Okay, so now we've made the decision. And I started laughing because something occurred to me from my real youth, a TV show back from the 60s called Dobie Gillis, The Many Loves of Dobie Gillis, I think was the full name. And his sidekick friend, Maynard G. Krebs, who later went on to be on Gilligan's Island. Little trivia there. Every time he'd hear the word W-O-R-K, he'd respond accordingly.
Is that your work? Work, man.
So that's what I'm saying. So I started thinking about that whole word, work.
Is that your work? Work, man.
And how that can stop us. You know, just the thought of having to start the work. But what's really, really, really behind that? Okay, so I have a quick little story to share with you. A bunch of years ago, I was privileged to be able to work behind the scenes at the Radio City Music Hall. And I was a dresser, which means that I worked with all the Rockettes during the Christmas show. And my job was to get them in all their costumes. And if you've ever seen that show, there's 50 Rockettes, a bunch of Santas, hundreds of dancing animals and rag dolls and you name it, for like 90 minutes on stage with so many costumes and jewelry and shoes, and you know what I'm talking about. So as excited as I was to try this new challenge, I thought that work seemed impossible. That was a definite work moment. Well, guess what? I learned a lot from that lesson working there. It was all broken down. It was broken down in such a way into manageable bites that not only did I, with all the other dressers, get everyone into their costume in the split-second timing, there was actually time for me to get a drink of water, get a quick bite of something to eat, or take my book out of my dresser apron and catch up with where I was reading. I would have thought that was impossible. It would all just seem like a big, huge amount of work that could never get accomplished. And guess what? Break it down into bite-sized pieces. Bite-sized pieces I'm talking about. And you can get from the beginning of the show to the end of the show and do it again. I hope you enjoyed that little tidbit. So don't be afraid of that four-letter word, work.
Is that your work? Work, man.
Don't be like Maynard G. Krebs. All right, until next week. I love hearing from you. Thanks so much. It's always a pleasure. Talk to you again soon.